Good afternoon and welcome to this week's lecture. I was hoping to do this earlier the week, but again, navigating our new norms of working with my daughter. We're sharing a computer, and so I have to kind of fit things in around her getting her classwork done. So I hope you guys are doing well and you are practicing and making good choices with your self-quarantine situation and social distancing. The sooner that we're able to get rid of this virus, we can get back to normal, but we're going to continue to move forward. Like I stated in our lecture last week, this week is the last week that we will be utilizing the textbook in regards to actually having an assessment and a writing project. After this week, we will be working on our final projects. And what I will try to do is working through Zoom and trying to get that up so we can have some classroom discussions. I really feel it's beneficial. It could be that maybe I just Zoom with specific groups and then we can process through what you're doing in order to get your project together for that final submission. As you've seen, I've already created the module for final submission for a final project. It has all your rubrics, it has instructions, your submission links, all of that good stuff. Please make sure that you read those instructions, especially your submission guidelines, because I have put that out there. I need you to practice that. I have put those in place purposely just to make it easier for me to access the information and to grade accordingly. Even though there will be 3 submissions through the person who is going to be submitting those the videos and the proposals, everyone is getting a grade, but it's just so I'm not getting bogged down or things get lost because everybody's submitting the exact same project. So just to kind of keep it a little easier for me to locate and grade accordingly. Also, I want to bring to your attention, I realized that a communication went out by President Snido regarding extending the semester a week because we had this. They had extended spring break a week. Even though we did not do that, we continue to move forward. Because of that, we're on target to end with the original end date of this class, which means you're not going to go an extra week in English 102. So yay for that. And so we continue to move forward. And now we're going to be finishing on time, and that should also alleviate some stress on some other classes because we can finish this one up and then you can focus. I know that online learning was not something that each of you had anticipated or maybe perhaps wanted, but that's where we are at now, and I'm just trying to work with you guys. So I hope these videos are helpful. Please use the discussion board for the class really to communicate with me what's going on with you guys. It doesn't even have to be class related at this point, but we really want to foster that class community and class discussion and engagement. And so utilizing that, if you do have questions, that's a great place. If you're trying to get in touch with team people and you've tried other avenues, try the discussion board, and hopefully that will, like I need to really get in touch with my group. Can you, it could be an additional place of trying to reach out. With that being said, if your groups, if everyone in your particular group has not communicated, that's a problem. You guys need to be in continual communication with your team as you are moving towards this final project. It is instrumental. You cannot do this project on your own. It has to be a team effort. So, and I have had some communication where I had one of you guys say that you hadn't had any contact and no one has been reaching out or communicating. Please make sure that you guys are reading your emails, you're checking announcements, you're going to the group discussion boards to make sure that you're covering all bases and that you're getting all the information that you need. So please make sure, if you have not been in communication with your fellow teammates, you need to do that ASAP. In fact, do not let this day end without reaching out to your team if you have not already done so. So, going to get moving on to what we're doing this week. In Chapter 8, it's from synthesis to research to argument. Now, last week you guys completed an annotated bibliography. Each person in your team was to select 2 sources that pertain to the area that you were researching. And I am going to utilize that annotated bibliography as we roll into this week's lesson of synthesis and what that looks like. And so you will utilize the 2 sources that you utilized for your annotated bibliography in order to complete the synthesis for this week. So now, does that mean that these are the only two sources that you're going to use for that particular part of your project? No, it does not. But what it is going to do is that you are going to practice the skills that necessary in order to create a synthesis, in order for you to utilize it on the other sources that as you are creating this project. So it's just kind of keep it together, and you've already been in the material, you've already done a summary on it, so we're just taking it to the next level. So what a synthesis is, and I'm in your textbook, it's page 187. Synthesis, it is a discussion where you are using two different sources. And you are looking at two different arguments or two different perspectives. And so a synthesis is taking it below the surface. Now, right now, what you have done is you have printed off the article, hopefully. You have annotated it. You have extracted the information that you are utilizing. And therefore, you created that summary in order to create the annotated bibliography. Now I want you to go back into the argument, and now I want you to be the article detective. And now we are being more specific with what they're talking about, which means you need to take into account the audience. A lot of these, you have a common denominator, and that's what a synthesis is. You have to have a common denominator, and you have different perspectives of how they look at that particular topic. And so what you're doing is now you are taking your sources and what are their two perspectives that they are bringing to the table, and you're looking underneath. Your book this week does a great job of giving you the points of what you need to look at. You're making connections with the different ideas in the different texts. You're deciding what the connections mean, and who wrote it, who they're writing it for. So again, you're taking it a little bit deeper. You're getting the basic idea of what you read, but in a synthesis, it is more of a succinct statement, and succinct is more of a brief or clearly expressed. So what is it what is their purpose? What's the purpose of what they wrote? What was their end game? What were they trying to prove with whatever they wrote? They each have an argument, because every time someone writes something, they have a purpose behind it. It's either to educate, to persuade. What's the purpose behind it? And what is their perspective? Hopefully, if they're bringing different perspectives, and it could be that they could be in agreement on a lot of things, but there's a couple different areas where they differ, or they give a different insight into it with the research that they have completed. And that's really where you're looking. What are they bringing to the table? What new perspective? We have the topic now of the coronavirus, and there are different perspectives of how people look at this. You have the side that, it's going to blow over and this is like the flu. And some people, may not be taking it seriously, where other people are like, this is a pandemic. Obviously, it's all over the world now. People have died, and so we need to be taking this seriously. The other argument being, well, more people die from the regular flu than they have from the coronavirus. So again, you have different perspectives, people feeling differently about it as far as the magnitude of whatever the topic is, or the cause of whatever that topic is. You guys are doing social injustices. So, a lot of this has to have a root cause. And, racial discrimination. Where did this start? Why is this an issue anyway? If it's sexual discrimination, where did it start? What are the different perspectives? You have people that are, it could be, if it's sexual discrimination, we automatically think it's the woman's perspective. And then people are like, well, there's some women that use it as a manipulation or as an argument, where other people, obviously, who have been through it, they see a different side of it. What are the different perspectives? What are the different arguments that are going into each one of these topics? And you do need to look into that. Now, what I can tell you, it is not. This is not a matter of listing the points from each topic. This is what they have alike and this is what they have different. That's more like a compare and contrast that we did in high school. And honestly, it is very surface. A synthesis is more of an analysis with a direction of message. And so you need to look deeper into it. It cannot be surface. It cannot be that you're just giving me some points. You have to give me intent based on how they are communicating their message, based on the research. What is the validity? Ethos, pathos, and logos. They play a role in here. Who's the author? Where is the author coming from? What is their perspective? Why do they, what made them feel as though they had the expertise in order to write that article? What are they bringing to the table? The pathos is the passion that goes behind it. Again, that's usually the draw point in, but again, you're needing that logos. What's the support? What's backing up their argument? What's backing up their perspective? Because again, when you are creating arguments or you're getting a perspective on something, you usually have reason as to why you think the way that you do. Well, why is it that they think the way that they do? So it cannot be this, well, this article states blah, 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 and this article states blah, 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 and this is what they have in common, and this is what they don't have in common. That is not what this is. This is not what this is. This is about looking at the arguments, looking at the perspectives, the intent behind their arguments, and the validity of their arguments in order for you to create and do the research appropriately for this final project. Because one of the main pieces of your social injustice project is your solutions part. And you cannot define or even bring to the table a solution if you don't know the intent and the purpose and the beginning, and you're not bringing valid information into it. If you do not have all of that information, then how are you going to create a valid solution? And that's what I'm looking for. There has to be some validity to it. There has to be, it has to make sense. It has to be logical. Is this something that we can do? And also, to take it a step farther, your solutions have to be well thought out. You can't just say, well, the government needs to make an amendment or give funding. Okay, so amendment regarding what? How is it going to affect? Should you look at the consequences of that? Okay, if you are going to get money to pour into something, if you don't have direction for the money, then it becomes wasteful spending and people are going to take advantage of it. You need to give very specific, valid, viable support as to how you would fix whatever situation or moving in the direction of a long-term fix for this. But you can't get the fix if you don't know the problem. It's just like if you go to the doctor, if he doesn't find the root of your fever, and he's like, oh, here's a cut, I'll put a Band-Aid on it and that should get better, but the fever doesn't go away, it means that there's something else that's going on. You have to get to the root of what the problem is. And that's a part of synthesis. You are that investigator, you're that detective, you're getting below the surface and you're trying to find the intent. Where does this fit in the stream of things? Remember the research that they're completing? That could actually lead you to additional research. If they are referencing a study, then go that way. Look at the study yourself. Don't take their word for it, because again, they have a perspective about that study. They are interpreting it based on their personal ideology and how they're viewing it. You may not interpret it the same way. So again, it's about that investigation going deeper. Where is your research taking you in order to find viable solutions? And that's exciting. That's why I love this project. Yay! So make sure I'm covering everything. You are going to have a quiz this week, but I have to tell you, there's not a whole lot of substance here. The only reason I'm going to have a quiz, and I'm going to try and eke out 20 points just so it can help grades. That's all. So please make sure that you're taking it. It's probably going to be like a true and false. It's going to be very easy. So make sure that you've read the chapter. But more importantly, you want to read this chapter because it has great information on how to even create this synthesis. It gives examples of a synthesis. It gives examples of how they're annotating. Read that. That will help you. If you're still having challenges of how to annotate, how to look at material and extract information, look at that. That will help you. The more you do it, the better it is. Making connections, it just kind of basically talks about all that. Decide what those connections mean. Things that you are taking into account, and I'm on page 212. Author and source information, the gist of each author's argument, supporting examples and illustrations, counter arguments, and then your own thoughts. Because again, the synthesis is you are taking this information, you're getting their different perspectives, but as with all academic writing, you have to have a response to that. How do you respond to what you have now learned? It could be that you are taking pieces from each person that you're like, I am in total agreement with that. Or, but it doesn't have to be in complete agreement. You can be in agreement with, okay, I understand this. I get this. I'm not in total agreement with how they're defining that out and how they're creating their perspective based on that. Mine's a little bit different. But again, we're each individuals. We all have that personal ideology, personal beliefs, the things that we are bringing to the table, whether or not we completely agree or not. That's okay. You are forming and you are continuing to form your personal ideology, and that's what all this is about. What do you think about things? So cool. Formulate the gist. It actually goes through formulating the gist of an argument, gives you examples. It does give you on page 214 and 15 and you may want to create this on your own. I'll hold it up. It's kind of like a grid where you can kind of utilize those sources and answer those questions. Some of you are visual learners, and you may need to do that. And honestly, I would probably do that because I'm a big picture person, and I need to see everything out in front of me. So I could utilize this and break it down into each one of those aspects. And so I can actually make that compare and contrast where I'm trying to determine each person's perspective, but you have it together. So that may be something I probably would do that. But each person is different. It could be listing, it could be, you don't have to do some long drawn out thing. Get a piece of notebook paper, do a line down the middle of it, put each, source at the top, and then maybe the topics that you're looking at or the perspectives that you're looking at, and how is that represented in the article. And then when you are creating your paper, please make sure that you do an outline first. Get your information together. Again, writing is logical. And so how would you logically go through presenting the synthesis? And I know probably some of you guys are like, yeah, it's kind of overwhelming. Well, your outline puts it down into small workable pieces. Now, we know that there is a standard formula for every paper. Intro, body, conclusion. Okay, in your intro, you are introducing what it is that you're going to be discussing. So logic would dictate you're probably going to mention the names of the articles and who wrote them in your intro. Do not forget that you need a thesis statement. You've got to let me know, what this paper is going to be talking about. Couple things. When you write the titles of your articles, they are to be italicized. Do not put them in quotes. Italicize them. You still have to give me a hook. Think about that. It's a paragraph. A paragraph can be 5 to 7 sentences. It could be a little bit more. Okay, it doesn't need to be a page. But, it's not this, it has to be 3 to 5 sentences. You have a hook. You have some information that you have to let me know because you're introducing this paper to me. Body, what does that look like? Okay, so logic would dictate. You've already introduced that you have 2 topics or 2 sources that you were going to be discussing. Logic would dictate I would probably need to get the gist of both of those sources. So you need to give me some type of summary. Your summary is an overview of what it is. You don't need to go into depth. In fact, I don't want to know that. But it could be that this article has the perspective of this topic and blah, 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 where this topic or this source, this is its perspective, just to kind of give me some foundation of what each of these sources are bringing to the table. Then you're going to go through and it's going to be those main points and those things that stood out to you. What were the differing? And that is where that compare and contrast can come in, where they're sharing some things, some different points, and they're differing on some different points, and that's okay. You could create your body in order to do that, and that's okay. Your conclusion is also your response. So it's not just, in conclusion, both of these articles. I don't want to see that. I want to see what you got out of this synthesis. How does this, as you are moving forward, and now that you've gotten deeper into this material, how has it affected your perspective on this topic and what you are going to be reporting on? And it cannot be one sentence. It cannot be 2 sentences. It needs to be developed. Take time. You've got nothing but time. You have plenty of room. I think I made the synthesis a 3 to 4 page paper, but if you are having a difficult time keeping it to 3 to 4, shoot me an email and we'll process through that and see why. But I can tell you, if you're having a hard time getting 3 pages, then you're not synthesizing anything and you're giving bare minimum, which means you're not going to really receive full credit on this. So do yourself a favor, because again, this is not an assignment that you're just going to do, turn in and forget. This information, this skill that you are utilizing is going to be to help you in creating your piece of the project. Do a good job. Get deeper with it. But remember that even though I'm only using these 2 sources, that does not limit you to 2 sources in order to prepare for your section of the project. You need to be doing additional research. You better have more than 2 resources for your particular piece of it. That's just a friendly hint there. So that's basically it on the synthesis. What I'd like for you to do is, I am making these videos available that you can make comment. Was this helpful to you? Do you need some clarification on this? That's fine. Put that out there. That way I know. I need to hear from you guys. Right now, I'm not hearing a whole lot. So I need to know if you're watching the videos. I need to know, is this helpful to you? I need to know if I need to clarify. But also you have to realize that you have to put some skin in the game, and you have to read the chapter, you have to read the examples, and that will totally be helpful to you. But I am here to walk alongside you, but it's very difficult for me to do that if I'm not hearing from you. So please make sure that you communicate with me. And again, I've allowed these videos on YouTube to be commented on, so please comment. Also, last but not least, we're still having some formatting issues. Please make sure that you're utilizing the resources that have been made available to you. We are having some issues here, okay? So make sure that you go back into these older assignments. Have I commented on some formatting issues? Please make sure that you look at that and correct it, because of where we are in the semester. Additional point deductions are going to be made if you are not correcting them. Look at your reference page. Please make sure this is a synthesis, which means you're using 2 sources. I am looking for in-text citations. If I do not see in-text citations, if I do not see where you are referencing the sources from where you are getting this information, you will fail this assignment. Having just a reference page is not sufficient, because you're using 2 sources, and I need you to differentiate to me where you're getting this information from. I cannot stress that enough. Please, and in fact, I am perusing it. I'm not even going to read it unless I see in-text citations. If I don't see where you have done your diligent piece of it, I'm not even going to read it, okay? Just because, why am I going to do that? You have to be diligent, and you have to pay attention to detail, and this is one of those pieces. But this is a pay attention to detail that has to occur, because the consequences are so great. Get in the habit of giving props to where you're getting your information from. So I hope that was helpful. Please stay safe. Please make good choices and do what is being asked of you, so we can get through this nasty season, and so we can rebound, and hopefully you guys will be back on semester, be back here next semester on campus. Well, I'm not on campus, I'm at home. So we can continue to move forward. Again, please be diligent in your work and making sure that it is assigned. If you did not turn in work last week, you need to communicate with me ASAP. So please make sure that you're doing that so I can work with you, because I know that there may have been some miscommunications, and I do want to be able to work with you guys, but you have to communicate with me. You have to be a part of this process. It has not stopped. We will complete what we set out to do. and we are in a great place for that. So have a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you. Be on the lookout. I'm hoping to do a Zoom. What that looks like, I think it will probably be next week. I may start communicating with your team leads as far as setting up a time where I can actually have some communication with specifically your group to see where you guys are at. So have a great day, and I will talk to you guys shortly.